Hello everyone. So today's our lecture is resting membrane potential. Almost all the cells in our body, they have this resting membrane potential. It is one of the most important topic in physiology. In previous lecture, you have already learned about homeostasis, and now you know that there are different systems in our body. They works very hard to maintain our body within physiological limit. They maintain mainly different parameters of our body within physiological limit, and in order to do that they have to communicate with each other, as well as the different cells they communicate with each other. There are main two ways by which they communicate. First is by chemical method and second is by electrical method. In chemical, they mainly interact with each other with hormones or by neurotransmitters, while in case of electrical communication, they communicate or they send signals by way of action potential. In our body, action potential, it can be developed in mainly two systems, that is in neuron or nerve, and second is in muscles. Muscles, all types of muscles, there can be development of action potential, whether it is smooth muscle, whether it is cardiac muscle, or whether it is skeletal muscle. So one more time, resting membrane potential, it is present in the almost all the cells of our body, and action potential, it is present inside nerve and muscle. And when we are talking about nerve, that means in central nervous system as well as peripheral nervous system. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about resting membrane potential in detail. If you want to define resting membrane potential, then it is the difference in electrical potential between inside and outside of the cell membrane under resting conditions. Inside is usually negative and outside is positive. This resting membrane potential, it can be simply recorded by voltmeter. In voltmeter, there are two microelectrodes. One of these microelectrodes, it is inserted inside the cell and one is kept outside, and then we can record the resting membrane potential in voltmeter. Now this resting membrane potential, it usually varies from minus 70 millivolt to minus 90 millivolt. Now from previous lectures in physiology, you have fair idea about body fluid compartments. What are the concentration of different ions in different compartments? Along with that, you have also learned about transport across membrane, how different things or different substance they move inside and outside the cell. In this slide, you can see two images. First one is of a typical cell and second one is of typical cell membrane that is made up of lipid bilayer, and there are so many different channels present into different cells. One most common channel that is present inside almost all the cells is known as sodium potassium ATPase pump. There is one peculiarity of all the cells of our body, and that is they don't like sodium and chloride very much. What it means is they don't like salt inside them, but they love to live in atmosphere or surrounding which is having maximum concentration of salt or Na and Cl. So all the cells in our body, they try to push sodium as much as possible out of the cell, and chloride, it moves along with that. And because of this movement of sodium and chloride from inside to outward side of the cell, there is also some net movement of water from inside to outside. Now this function, it is mainly maintained by sodium potassium ATPase pump. So if you talk about main function or role of sodium potassium ATPase pump, then it moves sodium out of the cell and potassium inside the cell. But this movement is against the concentration gradient, because sodium is already more in amount in outside and potassium is more in amount in inside. So whenever sodium potassium pump works, it utilizes energy, it utilizes ATP. That's why it is known as sodium potassium ATPase pump, because it moves sodium, it moves potassium, and it utilizes ATP for doing this same. There is one more characteristic of sodium potassium ATPase pump, that is it moves 3 sodium ions outside and it moves 2 potassium ions inside. What it means is it is also going to create some electrical potential, because it moves 3 positive ions outside and it brings back 2 positive ions inside. That's why sodium potassium ATPase pump, it is also known as electrogenic pump, because it creates electrical difference or electrical potential. In this figure you can see a typical cell which is having few channels. Now every cell in our body, or almost every cell in our body, it is having sodium potassium ATPase pump, and as we have discussed, its function is to move 3 sodium outside and 2 potassium inside. So what happens whenever sodium potassium ATPase pump works? It utilizes lots of energy. Around, when we talk about cells expenditure of energy, around 25% of it is utilized by this sodium potassium ATPase pump. So you can understand how this sodium potassium pump works extensively. Now whenever we are talking about any cell in our body, they would like to maintain two things. First is electrical equality or potential equality inside and outside of the cell, and second one, it is concentration equality. What it means is, if some ion is positive inside, it would like to remain in same amount outside the cell. If we talk about any particular chemical concentration, then it would like to maintain same level as inside and outside the cell. But our cell membrane, our body cell membrane is selectively permeable. What it means is, some substances, they can pass through this cell membrane very easily, while some other, they can pass with only great effort, and some cannot pass at all. The examples are potassium ions. It is having maximum permeability. It can pass through the cell membrane very easily, as well as there are so many potassium channels present and which are leaky channel. What it means is, they do not require any kind of mechanism to open the channel. So potassium can move easily from inside to outside. Second example is sodium. Cell membrane's permeability for sodium is very less as compared to potassium. In fact, potassium, it is having 100 times more permeability as compared to sodium. So sodium passes with very great difficulty, and the channel for sodium, they are usually gated channel. That means they remain in closed condition, and if the prerequisites to open the sodium channels are met, then and then only sodium channel opens. Otherwise it remains in closed condition. The next example is protein that is formed inside the cell. They cannot pass through the cell membrane in normal condition, and nor there are any channel, because they are so big in size as well as negative in charge. Before we start discussing generation of resting membrane potential, we need to have clear understanding of these three concepts: Gibbs-Donan equilibrium, Nernst equation, and Goldman-Hertz equation. If you have understood these three concepts properly, it will be very easier for us to understand genesis or generation of resting membrane potential. Any medium, when we talk about to the medium itself or in comparison to surrounding medium, they would like to remain electrically neutral as well as concentration wise neutral also. So let's start with first Gibbs-Donan equilibrium. It explains that phenomenon of solution that contributes to the formation of an electrical potential across a cell membrane. What it says is that each solution, it should be electrically neutral. That means the amount of anions, they should be equal to amounts of cations, and the products of diffusible ions on one side, it should be equal to the products of diffusible ions on the other side. Presence of non-diffusible ion on one side of the membrane, it affects the distribution of other ions to which membrane is permeable, and this results in asymmetrical distribution of ion across the cell membrane. Of course, till now you might not have understood the Gibbs-Donan equilibrium or effect, but don't worry, we are going to understand it very clearly with the help of example. In this scenario, there are two solutions, solution A and solution B. Both of them, they are separated by semi-permeable membranes. In solution A, there are two ions which can pass through this semi-permeable membrane, and in solution B, there is also presence of two ions, sodium and chloride, which can pass through this semi-permeable membrane. But apart of that, there is presence of one more ion to which the membrane is not permeable. It is present inside solution A. Over here, here we have marked it as X. Now, normally cations in A should be equal to anions in A. That means concentration of sodium, that is positive ion, it should be equal to total of chloride and X ion in solution A. And in solution B, cations of B solution should be equal to anions of B solution. That means sodium of solution B has to be equal in amount of chloride of B. Second one, the law over here is diffusible cations A into diffusible anions A should be equal to diffusible cations B into diffusible anions B. Of course, we are going to make this more simple. Let's first focus on before scenario. Now, if you talk about over here, there is inside of the cell which is written as in, and outside of the cell is written as out. Now, inside of the cell, there is presence of 1 equivalent of potassium, 0.5 equivalent of chloride, and 0.5 equivalent of protein. On the outer side, there is presence of 1 equivalent of potassium and 1 equivalent of chloride. Now, just for easier understanding, we are going to consider it as a 1. Simply, we are going to talk in numbers. So, inside, if we talk about electrical neutrality, that over here cations is equal to anions. 1 potassium, which is positive, it is equal to 0.5 plus 0.5 chloride and protein, which again sums up to 1. So, inside is electrically neutral. And if you talk about outside, then 1 potassium, it is equal to 1 chloride. So, outside is also electrically neutral. Now, this inside and outside, it is separated by semi-permeable membrane, and this membrane, it is permeable to potassium and chloride only, but protein cannot pass through it. So, what happens? As we have discussed earlier, any medium likes to remain electrically neutral, and when it is kept near other medium with help of semi-permeable membrane, then both of them, they would like to be electrically as well as chemically neutral. So what happens over here? Let's talk about that in after scenario. What happens is, if you see in before scenario, you can see that concentration of potassium is equal to concentration of potassium inside and outside. But if we see the concentration of chloride inside and outside, then there is difference. Chloride is present in less amount inside the cell and more amount in outside the cell, and the membrane between both is permeable to chloride. So what will happen? Chloride will start to move from its concentration gradient from higher to lower side. That means chloride will start moving from outside to inside. So what will happen? Inside of the cell, it will become negative. So in order to maintain the electrical neutrality, potassium, it will start moving down its electrical gradient. Means earlier the concentration gradient of inside and outside for potassium, it was similar, and earlier even electrically both of these was neutral. But because chloride had concentration gradient, it started moving from outside to inside, which also disturbs the electrical neutrality. Because of movement of chloride, there is negativity created inside. So in order to neutralize that, potassium will start moving inside, and that will also create concentration gradient. So because of movement of this both potassium and chloride, because of osmosis, water will also follow inside. And as we have discussed earlier, the membrane is not permeable for protein, so it will remain inside. So what happens at the end? The concentration of potassium and chloride, it is more inside the cell, as well as concentration of protein, it is also more inside the cell. Along with that, there is also electrical gradient between both of these membrane. Of course, each of these medium itself, it is electrically neutral, but if we compare it with other medium, then there is membrane potential difference. So let's hope this has cleared your concept of Gibbs-Donan equilibrium. Now one more thing, there is particular level at which the potassium ion or chloride ion, they will stop moving inside to outside or outside to inside. In either direction, they will reach at particular equilibrium. It is not necessary that amount of potassium inside and outside should be same, or even there can be electrical gradient. The thing over here is that at that particular level equilibrium is maintained in such a manner that there is no net movement of potassium, and that potential, it is known as equilibrium potential for potassium. In another word, this equilibrium potential, it is known as Nernst potential. Same can be achieved for chloride ion, at which level there is no net movement of chloride across this membrane. It is known as equilibrium potential or Nernst potential for chloride ion. Donan effect, it also explains why all the animal cells have must sodium potassium ATPase pump. The reason is that whenever the chloride moves inside, it will bring other ions like sodium with it, and because of the movement of sodium and chloride inside the cell, water will also move along with them, and because of that, cell will swell, it will increase in size, and this will keep on happening, and finally cell will burst. So the simple solution is, for all the cells, the sodium pump, it has to be present, and it will solve the problem. Because of sodium pump, sodium ion, it will move out of the cell, chloride will follow sodium, and because of movement of sodium and chloride, water, it will follow sodium and chloride. So this issue of swelling of the cell is solved by sodium potassium pump in our human body. We have discussed about equilibrium potential. It is explained by Nernst equation. So equilibrium potential or Nernst potential, it is membrane potential at which movement of a certain ion stops, whether it is sodium, whether it is potassium, whether it is chlorides. So this occurs when the two opposing forces, that is electrical and chemical gradients, become equal, and equilibrium potential, its equation is E equal to plus or minus 61, that is, and log of concentration of that particular ion inside and concentration of particular ion outside. From this equation we get equilibrium potential for potassium is around minus 94 millivolt and equilibrium potential for sodium is plus 61 millivolt. So simply saying that if potassium is the only factor causing resting membrane potential, then the resting membrane potential would equal to minus 94 millivolt. And if the sodium is only factor that causes resting membrane potential, then the RMP would have equal to around plus 61 millivolt. But in our body there are so many ions, they coexist with each other, and they togetherly decide resting membrane potential. Of course the major role is of potassium, but all these ions together, they are properly explained by Boltzmann equation. One more time, equilibrium, it is reached between the concentration gradient and the electrical gradient, which results in diffusion potential across the cell membrane or equilibrium potential for that particular ion. It is also known as Nernst potential. Now in earlier slide we have seen a simplified version of Nernst equation. We have just taken my plus or minus 60 millivolt, but it was made easier for us by respected scientist Guyton. Otherwise the actual Nernst equation is E equilibrium potential is equal to RT upon ZF into logarithm of concentration of ion inside and concentration of ion outside. In this equation, E is equal to equilibrium potential in millivolts, at which efflux and influx of ions are equal, so there is no net movement. Next is R, that is natural gas constant. Next is T, that is absolute temperature. Next is F, that is Faraday's constant. Next is Z, that is valency of the ion, and Ln, that is natural logarithm. Concentration I, that is concentration of the ions inside the cell, and O is outside the cell. But Guyton had done lots of experiment, and he finally realized that some of these, they remains constant always, like R, T, F and Z. So he created a simplified scenario and found a value for this, and that is 61 millivolt. So he made our work easier. Now Nernst equation, it explains a scenario for single ion only, but in our body there are so many ions we have to consider, so we can get the accurate value of resting membrane potential, and this is done by the Goldman-Hodgkin-Katz voltage equation, or simply Goldman equation. So this Goldman equation, it considered all the ions inside and outside the nerve fiber or any other cells for counting resting membrane potential. Goldman equation, it also consider permeability of that particular cell membrane for particular ions. So it provides more accurate value of resting membrane potential. So over here we can see the equation of Goldman. It is used to calculate the membrane potential resulting from all the participating ions. So equilibrium potential is equal to RT upon ZF and natural logarithm of all the ions inside and out. Over here Px, that is the relative permeability of the membrane to that particular ion. So Pk, that is permeability of potassium, and over here K plus out, that is concentration of ion outside and inside. So this explains resting membrane potential in proper manner. Now over here permeability is also considered while counting membrane potential. So we can simply say that an ion's contribution to the membrane potential is directly proportional to its ability to cross the membrane. And till now we have seen that our body cell membrane, it is maximum permeable to potassium. So we can say that potassium ion, it contributes maximum in resting membrane potential as compared to other ion. Let's discuss about some important ions and their concentration in our body. Now concentration over here, it is considered in millimole per liter. So I am just going to speak their value, you have to consider their unit. So let's start with first sodium. Sodium is present in more amount in extracellular fluid and less in intracellular fluid, and their equilibrium potential, it is plus 60 millivolt. Potassium ion, it is maximum present in intracellular fluid and minimum in extracellular fluid, and its value, it is around minus 90 millivolt. Chloride, it is present in maximum amount in extracellular fluid and its equilibrium potential is around minus 70 millivolt. Next is HCO3 and calcium. So these main important ions that we have to consider while counting resting membrane potential, that is sodium, potassium and chloride. Now let's discuss how resting membrane potential is generated. The first most important factor for the generation of resting membrane potential is selective permeability of the cell membrane, that is potassium having 100 times more permeability as compared to sodium, and the cell membrane, it is impermeable to protein anions. And second factor that contributes to generation of resting membrane potential is sodium potassium ATPase pump. Now we have seen earlier that resting membrane potential, it varies from minus 70 to minus 90 millivolt, out of which only around minus 5 millivolt it is generated by sodium potassium ATPase pump, and rest of the resting membrane potential, it is generated by potassium ion mainly. But the sodium potassium ATPase pump, it starts the event that indirectly lead to generation of total resting membrane potential. Now we are going to discuss how resting membrane potential is generated step by step in a hypothetical cell. So over here we are taking a cell in which there are different channels present, and over here we are going to discuss mainly two ions only, sodium and potassium. Now in almost all the cell there is presence of sodium potassium ATPase pump. Along with that there is presence of other different channels. The specificity of these channels is that for sodium there are gated channels present which opens under only if certain prerequisites are reached, like voltage gated channels, then it will be open only if certain level of voltage difference is reached. If it is ligand gated channel, that means it will only open if certain type of chemical substance is present. Same goes for chloride channel. But for potassium, leaky channels or non-gated channels are present. What it means is This potassium channel, they do not require any kind of substance or any kind of particular voltage level. They simply remain open and potassium can easily move in or move out of them. So let's start with first step. First, sodium potassium pump will start working and it will move 3 sodium ions out of the cell and 2 potassium ions inside the cell. And now because of this sodium potassium pump, some scenario is changed. For inside and outside, electrical gradient is created. Outside become slightly more positive because every time sodium potassium ATPase pump work, it throws 3 cations outside and it brings 2 cations inside. So it will create electrical difference. The sodium potassium ATPase pump, it is able to create around -5 millivolt difference. Second scenario, because of this sodium potassium ATPase pump is, it increases concentration of sodium ions outside and it increases concentration of potassium ions inside. So this is the action of sodium potassium ATPase pump. Now the concentration of sodium ion is more on outside, so there is concentration gradient from outside to inside. So sodium will try to move from out to in down its concentration gradient, but there are no open channels present for sodium, so sodium will have to stay outside. In the same manner, concentration of potassium is more inside and less outside, so potassium will try to move out down its concentration gradient. But the difference between sodium and potassium over here is there are open channels or leaky channels or ungated channels present for potassium. So what will happen? Potassium will start moving from inside to outside the cell through these open channels down its concentration gradient, and it will try to create chemical or concentration equilibrium between potassium. But at the same time, the electrical gradient being negative inside, it will oppose the potassium from moving out. Earlier it was already -5 millivolt because of sodium potassium ATPase pump, and as more and more potassium is moving outside, as potassium being positive ions, it will create more and more negativity inside, and it will keep on increasing and it will reach around -70 to -90 millivolt. At that time, the opposing force by this electric gradient, it is so much more that potassium will stop moving outside even though there is concentration gradient, and this level now is resting membrane potential, and it varies from cell to cell and in muscles, but it varies from -70 to millivolt. So this is how resting membrane potential is generated. તો ચલો હવે આપણે આજના લેક્ચરને ગુજરાતીમાં થોડું સમરાઇઝ કરી લઈએ. સિમ્પલ એક બેઝિકથી ચાલુ કરીએ તો આપણી બોડીના એક સેલે અથવા તો એક સિસ્ટમે જ્યારે બીજી સિસ્ટમ જોડે કોમ્યુનિકેટ કરવાનું હોય તો એની જોડે મેઇનલી 2 રસ્તાઓ છે. એક તો એ કેમિકલી સિગ્નલ મોકલે કે જેમાં ન્યુરોટ્રાન્સમીટર અથવા હોર્મોનથી મોકલે, અને બીજો રસ્તો છે ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલ સિગ્નલ મોકલે કે જે રસ્તો છે એક્શન પોટેન્શિયલનો. હવે જો આપણી બોડીની અંદર વાત કરીએ તો એક્શન પોટેન્શિયલથી કોમ્યુનિકેટ કરે છે મેઇનલી 2 સિસ્ટમ, એક નર્વ અને બીજું મસલ. નર્વની અંદર એક્શન પોટેન્શિયલ ડેવલપ થાય છે કે જેની અંદર આપણે સેન્ટ્રલ નર્વસ સિસ્ટમ, પેરિફેરલ નર્વસ સિસ્ટમ એ બધીને આપણે ગણી લઈએ. અને મસલની વાત કરીએ તો કાર્ડિયાક મસલ, સ્મૂથ મસલ, સ્કેલેટલ મસલ, આ 3 મસલની અંદર એક્શન પોટેન્શિયલ ડેવલપ થાય છે. એક્શન પોટેન્શિયલ ઉપર બીજા 2 થી 3 સેપરેટ લેક્ચર થશે. પણ એક્શન પોટેન્શિયલ સમજવા પહેલાં આપણે બેઝિક સમજી લઈએ રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ. હવે આપણે એક્શન પોટેન્શિયલ માટે વાત કરી કે એ ખાલી નર્વ અને મસલમાં પ્રેઝન્ટ હોય છે, પણ રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ એ ઓલમોસ્ટ બોડીના બધા જ સેલની અંદર પ્રેઝન્ટ હોય છે. રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ એટલે શું કે ભાઈ આપણી બોડીમાં અથવા તો આપણા જે પર્ટિક્યુલર સેલની અંદર રેસ્ટિંગ કન્ડિશનમાં જે મેમ્બ્રેન સેલ મેમ્બ્રેનની અંદર અને બહાર જે ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલ ડિફરન્સ હોય છે એને આપણે રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ કહીએ છીએ. આ રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ યુઝ્યુઅલી -70 થી -90 મિલીવોલ્ટ જેટલો હોય છે. મતલબ શું થયો કે બહારની કમ્પેરમાં સેલની અંદરનું એટમોસ્ફિયર છે જે એ -70 ટુ -90 મિલીવોલ્ટ નેગેટિવ છે. જો આપણે ડિસ્કસ કરીએ કે આવું કેમ થાય છે તો એના માટે મલ્ટિપલ ફેક્ટર્સ રિસ્પોન્સિબલ છે. એમાંથી જે સૌથી મોસ્ટ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે એ સેલ મેમ્બ્રેનની સિલેક્ટિવ પરમિએબિલિટી છે. મતલબ શું કે ભાઈ સેલ મેમ્બ્રેન દરેક આયનના માટે જે પરમિએબિલિટી છે જેમને પસાર થવા દે છે એ દરેક માટે અલગ અલગ છે. કોઈ આયન ઇઝીલી પસાર થઈ જશે, કોઈ ડિફિકલ્ટીથી થશે અને દરેકની જે ચેનલ છે એ અલગ અલગ હશે. આમાંથી જે સેલ મેમ્બ્રેનની પરમિએબિલિટી છે એ મેક્સિમમ છે પોટેશિયમ માટે. મતલબ કે પોટેશિયમ આયન બહુ જ ઇઝીલી પસાર થઈ શકશે. તો રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ ઉપર જેની મેક્સિમમ ઇફેક્ટ હશે એ હશે પોટેશિયમ આયન. પણ આ સિવાય પણ થોડી ઇફેક્ટ બીજા આયન જેમ કે સોડિયમ, ક્લોરાઇડ, બાયકાર્બોનેટ, કેલ્શિયમ વધારે ઓછી એમાઉન્ટમાં એમની પણ ઇફેક્ટ હશે. હવે આપણે કોઈ પણ સેલની વાત કરીએ તો એને પોતાને ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલી ન્યુટ્રલ રહેવાનું ગમતું હોય છે, એઝ વેલ એઝ એને જે એના સરાઉન્ડિંગ એરિયા જે છે એની બહારનું જે વાતાવરણ છે એની જોડે પણ એને ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલી અને કોઈ પણ કેમિકલી ન્યુટ્રલ રહેવાનું ગમતું હોય છે. એનો મતલબ શું થયો કે કોઈ પણ સેલને આપણે કોઈ એક મીડિયમમાં મૂકી દઈએ તો એ ટ્રાય કરશે કે એનું બહારનું એટમોસ્ફિયર અને અંદરનું એટમોસ્ફિયર નિયરલી સેમ રહે ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલી અને કેમિકલી. અને બીજી કોઈ પણ સેલની ખાસિયત એ છે કે એ ટ્રાય કરશે કે સોડિયમ અને ક્લોરાઇડ બને એટલું સેલની બહાર રહે, કારણ કે જેવું સેલની અંદર આ સોડિયમ અને ક્લોરાઇડ વધારે આવશે તો એ પોતાની જોડે લઈ આવશે વોટર અને એના લીધે સેલની સાઇઝ વધતી જશે અને ત્યાં સુધી વધશે કે જ્યાં સુધી એ સેલ ફાટીને ડિસ્ટ્રક્ટ ના થઈ જાય. તો સેલની પિક્યુલારિટી હશે કે બને એટલું સોડિયમને બહાર મોકલે કે જેના લીધે એની સાઇઝ અને ફંક્શન મેન્ટેન રહે. તો શરૂઆત ક્યાંથી થશે કે ભાઈ આપણા બોડીની અંદર કોઈ પણ સેલની વાત કરીએ તો એની અંદર અલગ અલગ ચેનલ્સ પ્રેઝન્ટ હશે. એમાંથી મોસ્ટ કોમન ચેનલ છે કે જે ઓલમોસ્ટ બધા જ સેલની અંદર પ્રેઝન્ટ છે તો એ છે સોડિયમ પોટેશિયમ એટીપીએઝ પંપ. આ સોડિયમ પોટેશિયમ એટીપીએઝ પંપનું કામ શું છે કે એ એટીપીએઝની મદદથી એનર્જી યુટિલાઇઝ કરીને 3 સોડિયમને બહાર મોકલશે અને 2 પોટેશિયમને અંદર લેશે. વન મોર ટાઈમ, સોડિયમ પોટેશિયમ એટીપીએસ પંપ 3 સોડિયમને સેલની બહાર મોકલશે અને 2 પોટેશિયમને સેલની અંદર લેશે અને એના માટે યુટિલાઇઝ કરશે એનર્જી એટીપીના સ્વરૂપમાં. હવે જેવું સોડિયમ પોટેશિયમ એટીપીએસ પંપ કામ કરશે એટલે કે દર વખતે સોડિયમ 3 બહાર જશે, 2 પોટેશિયમ અંદર આવશે. એના લીધે સેલની બહારના એરિયામાં સોડિયમનું કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન વધી જશે અને સેલની અંદરના એરિયામાં પોટેશિયમનું કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન વધી જશે અને જોડે જોડે સેલની અંદરનું વાતાવરણ નેગેટિવ થશે એઝ કમ્પેર ટુ બહારની સાઈડે. કારણ શું છે? કારણ કે 3 પોઝિટિવ આયનને બહાર મોકલે છે અને એની સામે 2 પોઝિટિવ આયનને અંદર લે છે અને એના લીધે સેલની અંદર એરાઉન્ડ -5 મિલીવોલ્ટ જેટલું નેગેટિવિટી ક્રિએટ થશે. હવે શું થયું કે ભાઈ સોડિયમની અમાઉન્ટ બહાર વધી ગઈ એટલે સોડિયમ ટ્રાય કરશે અંદર જવા માટે, પણ સોડિયમ માટે કોઈ ઓપન ચેનલ પ્રેઝન્ટ નથી એટલે સોડિયમે બહાર રહેવું પડશે. અને પોટેશિયમ કે જેનું કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન અંદર વધી ગયું છે એ ટ્રાય કરશે કે બહાર જવા માટે અને આ પોટેશિયમ માટે ઓપન ચેનલ્સ અવેલેબલ છે એટલે પોટેશિયમ એના કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન ગ્રેડિયન્ટના ડાઉન ફેઝમાં, મતલબ કે હાઈ કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન તરફથી લો કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન ગ્રેડિયન્ટ તરફ મૂવમેન્ટ સ્ટાર્ટ કરી દેશે. પણ અહીંયા ઓપોઝ કરશે જે ફેક્ટર એ છે ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલ ગ્રેડિયન્ટ, કારણ કે ઓલરેડી અંદર નેગેટિવ એટમોસ્ફિયર છે -5 મિલીવોલ્ટ જેટલું, અને પોટેશિયમ આયન પોઝિટિવ છે. એટલે જેટલો પોટેશિયમ આયન બહાર મૂવ થતું જશે એટલો અંદર નેગેટિવિટી વધતી જશે. હવે કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન ગ્રેડિયન્ટ એ ફેવર કરશે અને ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલ ગ્રેડિયન્ટ એ અપોઝ કરશે. તો આની અસર હેઠળ પોટેશિયમની મૂવમેન્ટ ચાલુ રહેશે બહાર, અને અંદર નેગેટિવિટી ક્રિએટ થઈ જશે. હવે એક લેવલ એવું આવશે કે જ્યાં ઇક્વિલિબ્રિયમ થઈ જશે કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન ફેક્ટર વચ્ચે અને ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલ ફેક્ટર વચ્ચે, અને એ જે લેવલ અચીવ થયું પોટેશિયમ માટે એને કહેવાશે ઇક્વિલિબ્રિયમ પોટેન્શિયલ. એની વેલ્યુ હશે અરાઉન્ડ -90 મિલીવોલ્ટ, અને એ ટાઈમે પોટેશિયમની જે મૂવમેન્ટ છે એ બંધ થઈ જશે, અને આને આપણે કહીશું નસ્ટ પોટેન્શિયલ ઓલ્સો. હવે આ જ વસ્તુની ઇફેક્ટ આ જ રીતે ચાલુ રહેશે બધા આયન ઉપર, અને જે ફાઇનલી જે જોવા મળશે લેવલ કે જ્યારે બધા આયન્સ વચ્ચે ઇક્વિલિબ્રિયમ છે. અગેન વન મોર ટાઈમ, ઇક્વિલિબ્રિયમ એટલે આપણે એ નથી કહેતા કે બંનેની એમાઉન્ટ ઇક્વલ છે અંદર બહાર બધું, ગ્રેડિયન્ટ હોઈ શકે, પણ આ ઇક્વિલિબ્રિયમ એનો મતલબ એ થયો કે કેમિકલ અને ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલ અથવા તો કોન્સન્ટ્રેશન અને ઇલેક્ટ્રિકલ ગ્રેડિયન્ટ એ બંને એકબીજાના એવા લેવલ ઉપર છે કે જ્યાં આયન્સની નેટ મૂવમેન્ટ બંધ થઈ જાય છે, અને એને કહેવાશે રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ. રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ માટે જો આપણે મોસ્ટ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ આયનની વાત કરીએ તો એ છે પોટેશિયમ. એનું કારણ એ છે કે પોટેશિયમ માટે જે સેલ મેમ્બ્રેનની પરમિએબિલિટી છે એ બહુ જ વધારે છે એઝ કમ્પેર ટુ બીજા આયન. સો રેસ્ટિંગ મેમ્બ્રેન પોટેન્શિયલ એના માટે સૌથી ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ ફેક્ટર છે ફર્સ્ટ સિલેક્ટિવ પરમિએબિલિટી ઓફ ધ મેમ્બ્રેન, સેકન્ડ ઇઝ ઇનઇક્વલ ડિસ્ટ્રીબ્યુશન ઓફ ડિફરન્ટ આયન્સ, અને થર્ડ વન ઇઝ સોડિયમ પોટેશિયમ ATPase pump. So with this we finish our today's lecture. Thank you very much.